Lord High Marshal was furious. He had thought he had put a brilliant plan together, and it was failed by the incompetency of the ones surrounding him. Not only did the loyalists gain the seat of Khorne, but they were also able to escape. Fools, how dare you allow this to happen? This type of failure will not be tolerated. Bone Crusher grunted. He knew in his heart that he should have been the one that went down to get the seat, but he knew the temperament of the High Marshal and didn't utter a word. The same did not go for Ironclaw, though. Ironclaw looked at the High Marshal and said, "I cannot believe you allowed this. If it was under my leadership, this never would have happened." As Ironclaw was finishing his last breath, the High Marshal Dreed took his power spear and thrusted it into Ironclaw's throat and ripped him from his throat all the way down to his genitals. As the great orc fell and his blood spilled everywhere, the High Marshal looked around and says, "Does anyone else have anything to say about my decision making?" Khorne just looked and replied with nothing. He was used to these type of tactics, but he normally saw them out of World Eaters. He was both shocked, but also he looked at the High Marshal with newfound. He looked at him more admirably because he thought of him as using these world tactics. He knew what this meant, and he was greatly pleased to follow such a brutal leader. The High Marshal then made a holographic call out to Ragnar and told him about Hrothgar and told him what was going on. He told him about the situation that occurred in the Valley of the Dry Bones, and the High World Eater Lord had responded, saying, "Fear not, High Marshal. The deeds of Captain Cool Blood has nothing to do with our alliance. It was just icing on the cake. We were still able to gain access to Hoth, and we will be able to rip the loyalists apart. Continue what you're doing, you will still have our allegiance." The High Marshal was happy with these newfound news, and still was determined to get the next seats. He still knew where the other 4 seats were, but he made a vow: "I will find that last chair. I will get that chair back. Khorne will be pleased, and he will have his revenge." In a secluded area of the Valley of the Dry Bones, Miravis gathered with Canoness Ammon, Ramil, and the Commissar Whitner and went over the battle reports. Over the last 2 missions, he read out as follows: 52 Marines dead, 4 sergeants dead, 2 surviving members of a Devastator unit. Sergeant Cato and Canoness Rachel were brutally murdered. 2 full squads of that 52 are completely gone. 1 squad only had 2 surviving members. Another has half of a tactical squad still in place. Miravis looked over the report and was just amazed at how the enemy forces were able to drive such a brutal wedge into the heart of 2nd Company. I have to let Captain Securius know of these details. This is grim news. We were able to retrieve the seat of power which belongs to Khorne, but at what price? We've lost many this day. Captain Miravis made a holographic call out to Captain Securius and informed him of the details that were transpiring on Vesper. Captain Securius shook his head and told Miravis that he did his best, and he was proud of the leadership that he had displayed in the Valley of Dry Bones. If it wasn't for his leadership, all of 2nd Company could have possibly been lost. He told him, fear not. He was on his way. He had 38 neophytes that he was bringing with him from the last training regiment. They will be used to fill in the ranks. 10 of those guys will be a elite sniper unit that can be used. Take all the neophytes and fill in with the remaining ranks. I made a call out to Chapter Master Seth. Chapter Master Seth is well aware of the situation. I will let him know all the details about what's transpiring. He and I have been coordinating our efforts, and he understands the situation. I've also talked to Captain Bilal of the Dark Angels, and they should be arriving within the next few weeks. And I also speak to the Great Wolf, Logan Grimnar. He will be sending out his parties. They should be arriving any day now to reinforce us. I know your forces on Vesper are low. I know you only have not that many of Imperial Guard as well as sisters remaining. Hold strong till I get there. We will avenge the Second Company, and we will take care of this scourge that has hit this planet. Captain Sicarius then makes a holographic call out to Chapter Master Seth, and he lets him know that they indeed have the seed of Khorne, but also lets him know of the cost that has been done. Chapter Master Seth told him, "Fear not, we will hold what we can on Hoth, and we'll look at all these details. This is grim indeed. There is something that's going on that's really, really troublesome. These seats are causing more trouble than it's worth, but we have to get them before the chaos side gets them. Take that seat and send it to one of our fortified planets. I'll let you know the details of the planet later on. But we need to send it, but not to Acadia. Can we send it to Agrippina?" asked Sicarius.